Dr. Elena stepped carefully through the thick forest, her boots crunching on the purple leaves scattered across the ground. The trees on planet Xerion 7 looked nothing like Earth trees. They twisted upward like giant corkscrews, their bark glowing with soft blue lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. She had been walking for 3 hours now, completely lost. "This is Elena calling base camp," she spoke into her radio for the 10th time. Only static answered back. The strange minerals in this planet's soil were blocking her signal. She was truly alone, millions of miles from Earth, with no way to contact her team. The sun was setting, casting long shadows between the twisted trees. Elena had studied the reports about this planet. At night, the real predators came out. She needed to find shelter, and fast. She pushed through a wall of thorny vines, wincing as one caught her jacket. These weren't ordinary thorns. They were, as long as her fingers, and seemed to move on their own, reaching toward her as she passed. The whole forest felt alive, watching her every move. Elena found a small clearing next to a bubbling stream. The water glowed with the same blue light as the tree bark. She knelt down to test it with her scanner. Clean and safe to drink. At least that was something. As she filled her water bottle, a twig snapped behind her. Elena froze. In the growing darkness, she could see nothing but shadows. But something was definitely out there. Something big. A low growl rumbled through. The air so deep she felt it in her chest. Elena's hand moved slowly to the emergency flare on her belt. Whatever was watching her, she didn't want to startle it into attacking. Then she saw them. 2 amber eyes, glowing like lanterns in the darkness. They were at least 7 feet off the ground. Elena's mouth went dry. This creature was huge. The eyes moved closer, and Elena caught glimpses of silver fur reflecting the blue light of the stream. The creature circled her, staying just at the edge of the shadows. Elena could hear its breathing, heavy and controlled. It was studying her, deciding what to do with this strange visitor to its forest. "Easy," Elena whispered, keeping her voice calm. "I'm not here to hurt you." The creature stepped into the clearing, and Elena gasped. It looked like someone had crossed a human with the most beautiful cat she had ever seen. The being stood on. 2 legs like a person, but moved with the fluid grace of a predator. Her fur shimmered between silver and deep purple, and strange markings along her arms pulsed with their own inner light. The alien woman's face was striking. She had high cheekbones and intelligent eyes that seemed almost human, but her pupils were vertical slits like a cat's. When she opened her mouth slightly, Elena could see sharp teeth designed for hunting. The creature limped as she moved, favoring her left leg. Elena's scientific training kicked in, pushing down her fear. This magnificent being was hurt. "You're injured," Elena said softly, pointing toward the alien's leg. The creature's eyes snapped to Elena's face, and she bared her teeth in a warning. But Elena could see pain in those amber eyes, along with something else. Loneliness. This being had been suffering alone. Elena slowly reached into her medical kit, moving with deliberate care. The creature tensed, ready to spring. Her claws extended from her fingertips, each one as long as Elena's thumb. "I want to help," Elena said, pulling out antiseptic wipes and surgical tools. "I'm a doctor." "Well, sort of." The alien tilted her head, studying Elena with those incredible eyes. She seemed to understand some English, though Elena couldn't figure out how. Elena could now see the problem clearly. A massive thorn, thick as her wrist, was buried deep in the creature's thigh. The flesh around it was swollen and had an unhealthy purple color. Infection was setting in. The alien woman looked at the medical supplies, then back at Elena's face. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the clearing. Elena could feel the creature's internal struggle. trust or attack, help or hunt. Finally, the alien spoke. Her voice was deeper than a human woman's, with an odd musical quality that made Elena think of wind chimes. "You heal?" she asked in broken English. "Yes," Elena replied, surprised that the creature could speak her language at all. "I heal." The alien's eyes narrowed and she took a threatening step forward. Elena's heart hammered, but she held her ground. "Keep staring and I'll pounce," the creature growled, her accent thick but her meaning clear. She paused, looking down at her wounded leg, then back at Elena with those piercing amber eyes. "But pull the thorn first, human." Elena felt a chill run down her spine, but not from fear. This was the moment everything would change. She was about to perform surgery on an alien being, millions of miles from Earth, with only basic medical supplies. If she messed this up, she would either watch this beautiful creature die from infection or become her next meal. "Okay," Elena whispered, setting her supplies on a flat rock. "Let's get that thorn out of you." The alien woman settled down next, to the glowing stream, keeping her eyes locked on Elena. Every muscle in her body remained coiled and ready to strike. Elena could tell that one wrong move would end very badly for her. But as she looked into those alien eyes, she saw something that gave her hope. Behind the predator's instincts and the pain, there was intelligence. Real, deep intelligence. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of trust. Elena picked up her surgical knife, its blade catching the blue light of the stream. The alien woman's pupils dilated, tracking every movement. This was either going to be the start of an incredible friendship between two different species, or the last mistake Elena would ever make. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. In the distance, other creatures howled, but neither Elena nor the alien woman looked away from each other. This moment belonged to them alone. Elena moved closer, her hands steady despite everything. The real adventure was just beginning. Elena's hands trembled as she cleaned the surgical knife in the glowing stream. The alien woman watched her every move, those amber eyes never blinking. Up close, Elena could see just how badly infected the wound had become. The thorn was buried, so deep that removing it would be like performing major surgery with camping supplies. "This is going to hurt," Elena said softly, moving closer to the injured leg. The alien woman nodded, understanding more English than Elena had expected. She placed her hands flat on the ground and took a deep breath. Elena noticed that when she breathed, the glowing markings on her arms pulsed brighter. "What's your name?" Elena asked, trying to keep her patient calm as she prepared the antiseptic. "Kirith," the alien replied, her musical voice making the name sound like a song. "I'm Elena." She poured antiseptic around the wound, and Kirith hissed, her claws digging into the dirt. "Sorry, but this will prevent more infection." As Elena worked, she made an amazing discovery. Kirith's blood wasn't red, like human blood. It was deep, blue, almost purple, and it seemed to sparkle in the light from the stream. Even more incredible, when Elena accidentally cut too deep, the wound began healing itself within minutes. "How is this possible?" Elena whispered, watching the flesh knit back together. Kirith smiled, showing those sharp teeth. "My people, different from yours." Elena carefully gripped the base of the massive thorn. It was covered in tiny barbs that had worked their way deep into the muscle. This was going to be the tricky part. "Ready?" she asked. Kirith closed her eyes and nodded. Elena pulled with steady pressure, and the thorn began to slide free. Black liquid oozed from the wound, carrying the infection out with it. Kirith made no sound, but Elena could see the pain in the way her whole body tensed. Finally, the thorn came free with a wet pop, It was even larger than Elena had thought, nearly a foot long and wickedly sharp. She quickly cleaned the wound and applied antibiotic cream from her kit. "There," Elena said, sitting back on her heels. "That should heal much better now." Kirith flexed her leg experimentally, and her face lit up with relief. The pain that had been constant for weeks was finally gone. "Thank you," she said, and Elena could hear genuine gratitude in her voice. As Elena packed up her medical supplies, Kirith began to tell her story. Her English was broken, but she filled in the gaps with gestures and something else. Images seemed to flash in Elena's mind, as if Kirith was sharing her memories directly. Elena saw flashes of a beautiful civilization, cities built into massive, trees with buildings that seemed grown rather than constructed. She saw Kirith's people living in harmony with their forest, tending gardens that glowed with bioluminescent plants. Then the images turned dark, ships landing from space, humans in environmental suits exploring the forest, and then sickness, Kirith's people falling ill with diseases their bodies had never encountered before. "The first humans brought death," Kirith said quietly. "My pack, my family, all gone." Elena felt a chill of guilt and horror. "I'm so sorry. We didn't know." "I was guardian," Kirith continued, touching the glowing markings on her arms. "My job to protect the sacred groves, but I failed. Now I am last." Elena learned that the markings on Kirith's body weren't just decorations. They were living symbols that connected her to the forest itself. As a guardian, she could sense the health of every tree, every stream, every creature in her territory. "That's how you knew I was here," Elena realized. Kirith nodded. "Forest told me. Strange creature, not dangerous but lost." Over the next 2 days, Elena stayed to make sure the wound was healing properly. During this time, she discovered that Kirith was incredibly intelligent. She had learned English by intercepting human radio transmissions over the years, studying the patterns and meanings. Kirith showed Elena wonders she had never imagined. Flowers that sang in harmony at dawn, streams that changed color based on the minerals they carried, trees that could live for thousands of years, their memories stored in the patterns of their bark. "Your world is amazing," Elena said as they sat by the glowing stream on the second night. "Was amazing," Kirith corrected sadly. "Now it dies slowly. The sickness changed things. Plants grow wrong. Water tastes different. Even the songs are fading." Elena felt her heart break for this lonely guardian, trying to protect a dying world, all by herself. She had dedicated her life to studying alien life, but she had never considered the cost of human exploration. On the third morning, Elena heard the sound she had been both hoping for and dreading. The whir of helicopter blades echoed through the forest. "My people," she told Kirith. "They're looking for me." Kirith's expression grew guarded. "Will they hurt Forest?" "I won't let them," Elena promised, though she wasn't sure how she could keep that promise. The rescue helicopter landed in the clearing, and 3 figures in environmental suits jumped out. Elena recognized Dr. Chen, her research partner, and Commander Hayes, the military leader of their expedition. "Elena, thank God you're safe," Dr. Chen called through his helmet speaker. Commander Hayes was already raising his weapon when he spotted Kirith. "Step away from the hostile, Dr. Vasquez." "She's not hostile," Elena said quickly, moving between them. "She saved my life." Kirith stood slowly, her injured leg much stronger now. But Elena could see the predator in her returning, responding to the perceived threat. The peaceful moment was shattering. "I've read the reports about these creatures," Commander Hayes said. "They're dangerous. We're taking you back to base, and this thing needs to be contained for study." "Her name is Kirith," Elena said firmly, "and she's not a thing." Elena found herself facing an impossible choice. Go back to safety with her own people, or stay and try to protect Kirith from humans who saw her only as a specimen to be studied. Kirith looked at Elena with those incredible amber eyes, and Elena could sense her thoughts. The Guardian was prepared to fight if necessary, but she would rather fade back into the forest than bring more violence to her world. "I need more time," Elena told Commander Hayes. "There's so much to learn here." "Absolutely not," the commander replied. "You've been exposed to an alien life form. You need immediate medical evaluation." Elena looked between the helicopter and Kirith, knowing that her next decision would change everything. The trust they had built over 3 days hung in the balance, and with it, perhaps the future of both their species. Elena managed to convince Commander Hayes to let her stay for 2 more weeks. She told him it was for research, but the truth was more complicated. She couldn't abandon Kirith, not when she was learning so much about this incredible world. The human team set up a small research camp at the edge of the forest. Elena spent her days with Kirith, documenting the amazing plants and creatures that lived in harmony with the Guardian. Every discovery was more fascinating than the last. "Look at this," Elena said, watching a group of tiny blue creatures repair damage to a tree's bark. "They're like living bandages." Kirith smiled, one of the first real smiles Elena had seen. From her. "Forest family," she explained. "Everyone helps everyone." But not everyone was happy with this arrangement. Commander Hayes watched Elena's daily trips into the forest with growing suspicion. During their evening briefings, he made his concerns clear. "She's spending too much time with that creature," he told Dr. Chen. "I'm worried about contamination, both biological and psychological." Dr. Chen disagreed. "Elena's discoveries could revolutionize our understanding of alien ecosystems. This Guardian creature has knowledge we could never gain otherwise." Elena heard their arguments through the thin walls of the research station. She knew her time was running out, but she also knew something terrible was happening that neither Commander Hayes nor Dr. Chen understood yet. On her 10th day in the forest, Kirith led Elena deeper into the woods than they had ever gone before. They walked for hours until they reached a clearing dominated by a massive tree that seemed to glow from within. "Sacred place," Kirith whispered, her voice filled with reverence. At the base of the tree was a natural spring. The water that bubbled up from deep underground sparkled like liquid diamonds. When Elena tested it with her equipment, she was amazed by what she found. "These minerals," she breathed, reading her scanner. "I've never seen anything like this composition." Kirith knelt by the spring and cupped the water in her hands. As she drank, the glowing markings on her skin became brighter, more vibrant. The water wasn't just special to her people's culture, it was essential to their biology. "My people need this water to live," Kirith explained. "Without it, we become sick and fade away." Elena's blood ran cold. "Kirith, our research station, where exactly is it located?" Kirith showed her on, a crude map drawn in the dirt. Elena's worst fears were confirmed. The human base was built directly over the underground stream that fed this sacred spring. "No, no, no," Elena muttered, checking her readings again. The water purification systems at the base were designed to filter out alien bacteria and minerals. They were dumping the filtered waste back into the ground, not knowing it was poisoning the very source that kept Kirith's people alive. That evening, Elena rushed back to confront Dr. Chen and Commander Hayes. She burst into their meeting with her test results and data. "We have to shut down the water systems immediately," she said, spreading her readings across the table. Commander Hayes looked at the data with confusion. "These numbers don't mean anything to me." "The aliens need these specific minerals to survive," Elena explained urgently. "Our purification system is removing them from the water table. We're accidentally poisoning their only source of life." Dr. Chen studied the readings carefully. This is incredible. Their biology actually requires these trace elements. Without them, they die, Elena finished. Commander Hayes crossed his arms. That's unfortunate, but our mission takes priority. We can't risk contaminating our water supply with alien minerals. Elena stared at him in disbelief. You're talking about genocide. There might only be a handful of Kirith's people left alive, and we're killing them. That's not our problem, the commander said coldly. Elena felt sick. She had joined this mission to study alien life, not to accidentally destroy it. She had to warn Kirith, but she also had to find a solution that could save both the human mission and the remaining Guardians. The next morning, Elena met Kirith at their usual spot by the glowing stream. But this time, Kirith wasn't alone. 3 other figures emerged from the shadows of the forest. Elena gasped. These were more of Kirith's people, survivors she had never mentioned. They were thinner than Kirith, their glowing markings dim and flickering. They looked like they were slowly starving. My clan brothers, Kirith said sadly. Vextar, Zaraki, and Threndal, the last of our kind. The eldest, Vextar, stepped forward. His amber eyes burned with anger as he looked at Elena. When he spoke, his voice was like grinding stone. Guardian Kirith, why do you bring the poison makers to our sacred place? Elena realized with horror that they knew about the contamination. Kirith had been protecting her from her own people's anger. She helps, Kirith said firmly. She healed my wound. She learns our ways with respect. Respect? Vexatar snarled. Her kind murders our water. Each day we grow weaker while they grow stronger. Soon we will fade completely. Elena stepped forward, her heart pounding. I didn't know. None of us knew. But I want to help fix this. Zaraki, a female guardian with intricate silver markings, laughed bitterly. Help? Your people take everything. First, they bring sickness that killed our families. Now they poison our lifeblood. What's next, human? Elena felt the weight of her entire species' mistakes crushing down on her. Please, give me time. I can find a solution. Time. Threndal spoke for the first time, his voice weak with hunger. We have no time. The sacred spring grows more poisoned each day. Kirith moved between Elena and the other guardians. Elena could see the conflict in her friend's eyes. She was torn between her loyalty to her people and her growing friendship with Elena. Choose, Guardian, Vextar demanded. Stand with your dying people or with the aliens who destroy us. Elena watched in anguish as Kirith struggled with the impossible decision. The trust they had built, the friendship that had grown between them. It was all crumbling under the weight of her people's survival. I need to return to base, Elena said quietly. I'll find a way to fix the water systems. But as she walked away, she heard Vextar's final words to Kirith. If the poison makers will not leave willingly, we will make them leave. Our ancestors did not survive 1,000 generations to die from alien neglect. Elena realized she was running out of time. The Guardians were preparing for war, and she was the only person who might be able to prevent it. She had to find a solution that could save both species before her own people and Kirith's survivors destroyed each other. The forest felt different as she walked back to base. The glowing plants seemed dimmer, the singing flowers quieter. Even, the planet itself seemed to sense that something precious was dying. Elena worked through the night, studying water samples and running calculations on her portable computer. There had to be a way to purify the human water supply without destroying the minerals the Guardians needed. The answer came to her at dawn, but it was going to require something nobody had ever attempted before. She found Dr. Chen in the research lab, already preparing for another day of sample collection. I think I have a solution, Elena said, spreading her notes across his workstation. But it's going to sound crazy. Dr. Chen studied her calculations. Biological filtration using alien plant matter? Elena, we don't know what that could do to our systems. The Guardians don't just live with their forest, Elena explained. They're connected to it. Kirith can actually interface with the plant. Network. If we combine our technology with their natural abilities, we might be able to create a filtration system that works for both species. And the risks? Elena took a deep breath. For Kirith, connecting to a human-made system could overload her nervous system. For me, I'd have to link directly with the alien bionetwork to guide the process. It could change my brain chemistry permanently. Dr. Chen stared at her. You're talking about merging human and alien biology. The military will never approve this. As if summoned by their conversation, Commander Hayes walked into the lab. Approve what? Elena explained her plan, watching the commander's face grow darker with each detail. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Absolutely not, he said finally. I won't authorize human experimentation with alien contamination. It's not contamination, Elena argued. It's cooperation. It's dangerous and unnecessary. We have our orders. The water systems stay as they are. Elena felt her temper flare. Those orders are killing an entire species. A species that's already dying out. My job is to protect human interests, not alien ones. That afternoon, Elena met Kirith at the sacred spring. The Guardian looked weaker than before, her glowing markings dim and flickering like dying stars. The others are preparing for battle, Kirith said sadly. Vextar believes your people will never leave willingly. What if I told you there was another way? Elena asked. Something that could save the spring and let both our peoples survive here? Kirith's amber eyes lit up with hope, but also wariness. What way? Elena explained her plan. As she spoke, she watched Kirith's expression change from hope to fear, to determination. You would risk your mind for my people? Kirith asked. You saved my life. Now let me save yours. That night, Elena snuck out of the human base with her equipment. She met Kirith and the other Guardians at the sacred tree. Vexatar was furious when he learned what Elena was proposing. More human tricks, he growled. She seeks to poison our Guardian's mind as they poisoned our water. She risks herself as much as I do, Kirith replied firmly. If there is a chance to save our people without war, we must take it. Elena set up her portable bioscanner and connected it to a modified water filtration unit she had borrowed from the base. The plan was simple in theory, but terrifying in practice. Kirith would connect to the forest's neural network, while Elena linked to both Kirith and the human technology. Together, they would program the forest itself to filter the water naturally. If this goes wrong, Elena told Kirith, we might both lose ourselves in the connection. Then we lose ourselves together, Kirith replied, taking Elena's hand. The connection began slowly. Elena felt the bioscanner attached to her temples, sending tiny electrical signals into her brain. At the same time, Kirith placed her palms against the sacred tree, her markings beginning to glow brighter. Suddenly, Elena's mind exploded with sensation. She could feel the entire forest as if it were her own body. Every tree, every stream, every living creature was part of a vast network of consciousness. It was beautiful and overwhelming and terrifying all at once. Through the connection, she felt Kirith's presence like a warm light guiding her through the chaos. The Guardian was showing her how to communicate with the forest, how to ask, rather, than command. Elena focused on the underground stream, feeling its flow through the earth like blood through veins. She could sense the poison from the human base, spreading like infection through the water table. But she could also feel the forest's desire to heal itself. Working together, Elena and Kirith began to reprogram the biological filters deep underground. They were teaching the root systems to separate harmful chemicals while preserving the life-giving minerals the Guardians needed. But the strain was enormous. Elena felt her human brain struggling to process the alien thoughts flowing through. Blood began to trickle from her nose as her neural pathways adapted to carry information they were never designed for. Kirith was suffering too. The technological aspects of the connection were foreign to her biology. Her markings flickered wildly as she fought to maintain the link. "Hold on," Elena whispered, though she wasn't sure if she said it out loud or through the mental connection. Just as Elena thought her mind might shatter from the overload, something shifted. The forest network stabilized, accepting the new filtration protocols. Clean water began flowing through the underground streams, carrying the minerals the Guardians needed while filtering out the human contamination, but their success came at a cost. When Elena finally disconnected from the bioscanner, she could still feel the forest's presence in her mind. Her vision had changed too. She could see the energy patterns in living things, just like the Guardians could. Kirith had been changed as well. New markings had appeared on her skin, patterns that looked almost like human neural pathways. The connection had left permanent traces in both of them. "It worked," Dr. Chen breathed, checking his water samples the next morning. "The mineral content is perfect for human consumption, but the alien elements are still present in the ecosystem." Commander Hayes was not pleased when he discovered what Elena had done. "You've contaminated yourself with alien biology," he said, angrily. "Military command will want you quarantined immediately." "The quarantine can wait," Elena replied. "We've just proven that humans and Guardians can work together. This could change everything about how we approach alien contact." But even as she spoke, Elena knew her time on Zarian 7 was running out. The military would never let her stay now that she had been contaminated by alien influence. And the Guardians, while grateful, still weren't sure they could trust humans. In the long term, Elena looked out at the forest, feeling its vast network of life calling to her through her changed mind. She had helped save Kirith's people, but she had also changed herself in ways she was only beginning to understand. The real question now was whether the bridge they had built between two species would be strong enough to survive the fears and prejudices of both their peoples. 6 months had passed since Elena's escape from the military transport ship that was supposed to take her back to Earth. She had jumped from the cargo bay during a refueling stop, using skills she never knew she had. Her enhanced connection to living systems had guided her through space stations and asteroid colonies until she found a smuggler willing to bring her back to Zarian 7. Now she stood at the edge of what had once been the human research base. The metal buildings were gone, replaced by structures that seemed to grow from the forest itself. Walls made of living wood curved gracefully around spaces, lit by bioluminescent panels. It was neither fully human nor fully Guardian, but something new. "You came back," Kirith said, emerging from the tree line. She looked healthier than Elena had ever seen her. The sacred spring was pure again, and her people were slowly recovering their strength. "I couldn't stay away," Elena replied. "This is home now." Elena's escape had made headlines across human space. The military claimed she had been mentally compromised by alien influence. Some scientists called her a hero who had prevented an interspecies war. Most people just thought she was crazy. She didn't care what they thought. Her changed biology meant she could never return to normal human society anyway. The forest connection in her mind would have been seen as contamination, studied and, probably, removed by military doctors. Here on Zarian 7, it was a gift that let her understand the living world in ways no human ever had before. "The others have been waiting to meet you," Kirith said, leading Elena toward the settlement. Elena was amazed by what she found. The surviving Guardians had been joined by a small group of humans who had chosen to stay behind when the military pulled out. Together, they had created something unique, a community where two different species learned to live as one. Dr. Chen was there, documenting new discoveries every day. A few junior researchers had also remained, fascinated by the chance to study guardian biology up close. Most surprising was Lieutenant Torres, a military engineer who had defied orders to help build the hybrid settlement. The brass weren't happy when I refused evacuation, Torres told Elena, but someone needs to make sure this place has proper power and communication systems. Elena learned that their little community had become something of a legend. Smugglers and independent traders brought supplies in exchange for guardian-grown medicines that could heal injuries modern technology couldn't touch. A few xenobiologists had even arrived secretly to study the human-guardian cooperation. But their peaceful existence was about to be challenged. Long-range sensors detected a new ship approaching Zerion 7. Unlike the small traders they were used to, this was a massive colony vessel carrying thousands of settlers. They're claiming salvage. Rights to the planet, Dr. Chen explained, showing Elena the transmission they had received. According to Earth law, abandoned research sites can be claimed by colonial expeditions. Elena felt her stomach drop. How long do we have? 3 days before they reach orbit. That evening, Elena and Kirith sat together by the sacred spring, watching the alien fish swim in patterns that seemed almost like writing. My people have survived worse, Kirith said quietly. We can fade deeper into the forest if we must. And abandon everything you've built here? Elena shook her head. There has to be another way. Elena's enhanced senses let her feel the distress rippling through the forest network. The Guardians weren't the only ones threatened by human colonization. Thousands of species lived in delicate balance here, many of them intelligent in ways humans didn't recognize. What if we could show them? Elena said suddenly. Not just tell them about the ecosystem, but let them experience it directly. Kirith looked at her with those amber eyes that had become so familiar. The connection ritual? With strangers who might not survive it? Not full connection, just enough to let them feel what this place really is. Elena's plan was risky. When the colony ship arrived, she would volunteer to guide a small delegation through the forest. Using her hybrid biology, she could create a temporary link between the colonists and the Guardian network. If they could feel the forest's intelligence, its complexity, its beauty, they might understand why it needed protection. The colony ship landed 3 days later with a roar that sent flocks of rainbow-colored birds fleeing into the sky. Elena watched from the forest edge as hundreds of people in environmental suits began setting up a temporary base camp. The colonial governor was a stern woman named Director Walsh, who had overseen a dozen planetary settlements. She agreed to Elena's request for a meeting, though Elena could tell she was suspicious. You're the scientist who went native, Director Walsh said, studying Elena through her helmet visor. Military intelligence says you were compromised by alien influence. I was changed by it, Elena admitted, but not compromised. Let me show you what this planet really is. Elena led a small group deep into the forest, to places where the Guardian influence was strongest. Dr. Chen and Kirith accompanied them, along with 2 colonial surveyors and Director Walsh herself. The trees are remarkable, one of the surveyors admitted, scanning the twisted trunks with their glowing veins. But we've seen bioluminescent flora before. This is different, Elena said. She placed her palm against the nearest tree and felt the familiar tingle of connection. Kirith, are you ready? The Guardian stepped forward and touched the same tree. Instantly, the forest around them came alive with light and sound. The very air seemed to shimmer with energy as the plant network activated. Elena reached out to the colonists, using her changed biology to create a bridge between human and Guardian consciousness. For just a moment, the visitors felt what Elena and Kirith experienced every day. They sensed the vast intelligence of the forest, the conversations between trees that spanned continents, the delicate web of life that connected every living thing on the planet. Director Walsh staggered backward, her face pale inside her helmet. What was that? That was Zerion 7 saying hello, Elena replied. The demonstration changed everything. Director Walsh called an emergency meeting with her senior staff, and within hours the colonial mission had been redefined. Instead of strip mining and terraforming, they would establish a research colony dedicated to studying and preserving the planet's unique ecosystem. Not everyone was happy with the decision. Some colonists had invested everything in the promise of farmland and mining rights, but others were excited by the chance to be part of something unprecedented. Humanity's first truly cooperative relationship with an alien intelligence, Elena, found herself appointed as the official liaison between the human colonists and the Guardian community. It wasn't an easy job. There were misunderstandings, conflicts over resource use, and cultural clashes that sometimes seemed impossible to resolve. But slowly, carefully, the two communities learned to work together. Human technology helped the Guardians heal sections of forest damaged by previous expeditions. Guardian bioengineering helped the humans grow crops that thrived in the alien soil without disrupting the native ecosystem. Children born in the settlement grew up bilingual, speaking both English and the musical Guardian language. Some even developed minor connections to the forest network, though nothing as dramatic as Elena's transformation. Elena often stood at the edge of their growing town, watching human children play alongside young Guardians in the glowing twilight. The sight filled her with hope for the future, but also with the weight of responsibility. "Do you ever regret it?" Kirith asked one evening, as they watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of purple and gold. Elena considered the question seriously. She could never return to Earth, never see her family again, never be fully human in the way she had been born. But she could feel the forest's vast contentment flowing through her mind, the satisfaction of a wounded world slowly healing. "No," she said finally. "This is where I belong." A new ship appeared on the horizon, probably bringing more researchers or perhaps families wanting to join their unique community. Elena smiled, remembering her first terrified night in the Thornwood, when glowing amber eyes had watched her from the shadows. "Keep staring and you'll see wonders," she whispered, echoing Kirith's old warning. "But respect the thorns first." The forest around them hummed with agreement, and Elena knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Human and Guardian, alien and familiar, building something entirely new among the stars.